In the heart of an African jungle lived Kofi, a kind and helpful elephant loved by all. But soon, the jungle's praises, Kofi the Great, Kofi the Strong, went to his head. He looked at his reflection and thought, I am the best. I don't need anyone else. He grew arrogant, ignoring his friends and refusing to help. Greatness without kindness is emptiness, warned Nia the sparrow, but Kofi just laughed. When a drought hit, Kofi refused to help find water, keeping his own secret pond to himself. But soon, even his pond dried up, and he was left thirsty and alone. One stormy night, he got stuck between two falling trees. He cried for help, but no one came. Just as he lost hope, his old friend Nia the sparrow appeared with all the other animals. Working together, they freed him. You still helped me, after how I treated you? Kofi asked, his eyes filled with tears. Nia replied, kindness doesn't remember insults, Kofi. It just remembers hearts. From that day on, Kofi wasn't known as Kofi the Strong, but as Kofi the Kind, whose heart was bigger than his body. Hello, little dreamers, and welcome to our story corner. Snuggle up and let's travel to a land far, far away. Once upon a time, deep in the lush heart of an African jungle, where tall trees whispered secrets to the wind and rivers sang all day long, lived a large, happy family of animals. Among them was Kofi the Elephant. He was the biggest, the strongest, and the most admired of them all. But it wasn't just his size that made him special. It was his heart. Kofi was kind, helpful, and gentle. When the river flooded, Kofi would use his long, strong trunk to lift the smaller animals to safety. When the sweetest fruits hung on the highest branches, he would gently shake the trees so everyone could have a share. The forest was a peaceful, happy home, all because Kofi cared for everyone. But one day, things began to change. The other animals, so grateful for Kofi's help, started to praise him a little too often. The monkeys would chatter from the treetops, no one is as mighty as our Kofi. The parrots would squawk in a colorful chorus, Kofi the Great, Kofi the Strong. At first, Kofi would just blush and laugh shyly, waving his trunk in thanks. But slowly, like tiny seeds, those words took root in his heart and began to grow. One sunny afternoon, as he admired his grand reflection in the calm river, Kofi whispered to himself, it's true. I am the biggest, the strongest, the best. I don't need anyone else. From that day forward, the gentle giant began to change. When the old, wise tortoise greeted him with a slow, friendly nod, Kofi would just walk past without a word. When a young antelope asked for help carrying a heavy load of fruit, Kofi scoffed, do it yourself. I have much better things to do. His best friend, a tiny but clever sparrow named Nia, tried to warn him. She chirped, Kofi, greatness without kindness is just emptiness. But Kofi only laughed a loud, hollow laugh. You're a small bird, Nia. What could you possibly know? You're too tiny to understand true power. The forest grew quiet and tense after that. Kofi's laughter, which once brought so much joy, now only brought fear. Then came the dry season. The rains, which usually danced from the sky, refused to fall. The wide river shrank to a mere trickle, and the once green grass turned to a crunchy, dusty brown. The animals gathered, their faces etched with worry, and approached Kofi. Please, Kofi, they pleaded, help us dig a new water hole with your strong tusks. But the proud elephant just waved his trunk dismissively. Why should I? I have my own secret pond. You can find your own water. The animals turned away sadly, their hopes dashed. Kofi, meanwhile, drank alone from his hidden pond deep in the forest, feeling powerful and superior. But soon, even Kofi's secret pond began to dry up under the relentless sun. The heat became unbearable, and Kofi grew tired and thirsty. He trudged back to the old riverbed, hoping to find a drop of water, but it was completely empty. He looked around and realized something else was missing the other animals. They had all left, too weak and thirsty to stay any longer. For the very first time in his life, Kofi felt a deep, piercing loneliness. He was big, he was strong, but he was all alone. That night, a ferocious storm ripped through the forest. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, thunder cracked like a giant whip, and lightning lit up the sky in terrifying flashes. Trees, old and mighty, began to creak and fall. Kofi ran, searching for shelter, but in his panic, he got wedged tightly between two massive fallen trees. He was trapped. He trumpeted loudly, his call for help echoing through the storm. "Someone, please, help me. I can't move." But the only reply was the roar of the wind and the drumming of the rain. He pushed and strained with all his might, but the more he struggled, the tighter the trees held him. Cold rain soaked his skin, and Kofi felt smaller and more helpless than ever before. Hours passed. Just as he was about to give up all hope, he heard a tiny, familiar voice through the storm. "Hold still, Kofi. We're here to help you." He peered through the rain and saw Nia the sparrow, his old friend, hovering nearby. And behind her, emerging from the shadows, were the tortoise, the monkeys, the warthog, and even a tiny army of ants, all the animals he had turned away. Together, they got to work. The ants loosened the soil around his trapped legs. The tortoise used his hard shell to push and dig at the earth. The monkeys pulled on strong vines, trying to shift the heavy branches. With a final, coordinated push from everyone and a loud, splintering crack, Kofi was free. Tears welled up in the elephant's eyes as he looked at the exhausted faces of the animals who had once feared him. You still helped me," he stammered, his voice thick with emotion, "after how terribly I treated all of you." Nia the sparrow landed gently on his tusk and smiled softly. "Kindness doesn't remember insults, Kofi," she chirped. "It only remembers hearts." From that day on, Kofi was a changed elephant. He shared his food again, without being asked. He used his strength to lift heavy logs, dig new wells for everyone, and he would even let the smallest animals rest on his broad back when they were tired. One glorious morning, when the rains finally returned and painted a vibrant rainbow across the sky, Kofi stood beneath it and said to his friends, "I may be strong in my body, but it is all of you, my friends, who make me strong in my heart." The forest came alive once more, filled with laughter and peace. The trees seemed greener, the river sang a louder, happier song, and the birds filled the air with melodies of friendship. And every night, before he slept, Kofi would look up at the twinkling stars and thank them for reminding him what truly mattered. As time went by, Kofi was no longer known as Kofi the Great or Kofi the Strong. Instead, all the animals called him Kofi the Kind, the gentle giant whose heart was even bigger than his body. The young animals of the jungle would often gather around the old tortoise and ask, "Grandfather Tortoise, please, tell us the story of Kofi the Kind Elephant again." And the tortoise would smile his slow, wise smile and say, "Remember this, my little ones. Kindness is what makes you truly great. Strength fades and pride can crumble, but a kind heart lives on forever." And under the quiet moonlight, the jungle would sleep peacefully once more, knowing that even the mightiest can be humble, and that in the end, love and kindness always win. Thank you for joining our story time today. I hope Kofi's journey warmed your heart. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more wonderful tales. Until next time, keep your hearts kind and your dreams big. Good night.